Inspire, connect, and enable the ecosystem of entrepreneurs. Welcome to Hubcast by Impact Hub Lagos, a podcast for the Nigerian innovator, changemaker, and entrepreneur. In each episode, we will bring to you exciting and inspiring content where we will share knowledge, insights, opportunities, and real innovative stories from the Impact Hub Lagos community. As the bloodline of our economies, entrepreneurs need to be supported and given every opportunity and resource to succeed. It is our mission to empower you from intention to impact.
This week, I'll be speaking with Femi Ojo, a public policy and partnerships management professional with over a decade of experience in both public and private sectors in local and international contexts. Femi currently serves as an Honourable Member of the Lagos State Youth Parliament. He is also the Deputy Country Representative of the Africa-Asia Youth Foundation. He doubles as the Senior Program Manager at Civichive and Strategist to the Chairman of Ifako Ijaiye Local Government on Developmental Affairs. In this episode, we discuss Nigeria's proposed startup bill, its policy implications for Nigeria's youth and innovation. Hello listeners, once again it's me, Anita Agbakova, commercial support here at Impact Hub Lagos. It's the 10th episode of Hubcast by Impact Hub Lagos, and we'll be talking about the Nigerian Startup Bill, policy implications for Nigeria's youth and innovation. So joining us in conversation today is Public Policy and Partnerships Management Professional, Mr. Femi Ojo. Or do I refer to you as Honourable? I know you also currently serve as Honourable Member of the Lagos State Parliament. Hi, Mr. Ojo.
The Lagos State Parliament, not the Lagos State Parliament. So, Lagos State Parliament. Hi. Nice to be here. Yeah.
Okay. Great to have you here. So thank you so much for taking our time to speak with us today, Femi. Welcome to our podcast. So Femi, you were recently awarded the Young Influential Award 2020 by the Lagos Ministry of Youth for your youth empowerment activities. Plus, I know you serve in various capacities across several youth development related activities. So I believe my first question for you today would be just for you to tell me a bit about yourself and the work you've been engaged in over the last few years.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Anita. Like she has said, my name is Femi Ojo. I'm presently Senior Program Manager at Civichive, owned by Budget, and presently Technical Advisor to the Executive Chairman of Ifako Ijaiye Local Government, Prince Usman Akombi Hamzat. I am actually also a partnership specialist of the West African WIGO in regional in Africa, and that's what I've been up to right about now. But over the last few years, especially during the COVID-19, what we were able to do personally with colleagues was the fact that to create impacts to life. As we know how it was so hard for people to have access to things they need to buy, so we're able to reach out to hundreds of houses to just support in a little way we could support, and so that we could just complement what the Lagos State government was doing or what the federal government was doing at that time. Yeah, thank you.
Fantastic. Really inspiring, Femi. So could you tell us a bit more about your work as a member of the Lagos State Youth Parliament?
Okay, interestingly, not widely known by the youth in Lagos State, but as a matter of fact, the Lagos State Youth Parliament is actually the voice of the youth in Lagos State, where we serve as parliamentarians to discuss situations that affect the youth in Lagos State. And we, apart from discussing situations that affect the youth in Lagos State, we collaborate with other parliamentarians, youth parliamentarians in different states to discuss the situation of the youth in Nigeria. So one of those things Lagos State Youth Parliament is actually known for is just the same way the Lagos State House of Assembly works, where policies actually being talked about, where we talked about coming up with policies. We talked about youth policies. We talked about most importantly things that affect the youths around us. So we don't have hands in major things. What we can actually do is to influence and send it to the House of Assembly for their own sittings, what we feel, our opinions, and to work closely with the House of Assembly member representing constituency. So that's the work of the Lagos State Youth Parliament. Not leaving out that what we do is we do a lot of sensitization programs for the young persons in different constituencies we have. We work closely with local government in there, and those are the things we do as a Lagos State Youth Parliament.
Fantastic. Lots of commendable work in the area of youth advancement and development there. So, and I think this is a really good segue into today's topic of conversation, seeing as the International World Youth Day just held on Thursday, 12th August. And the theme for that was transforming food systems. So youth innovation for human and planetary health. But we do know that in order to transform any system, especially in these current times and particularly here in Nigeria, there's a great deal of innovation that needs to be in play, yes? So, and the path to transformation, really, it involves a host of things from problem or challenge identification and definition, solution development and testing, and all of this, of course, involves the application of different levels of innovation. And innovation is pretty much typically driven by the youth. Our youth population in Nigeria, we're saying there's 70% of us under the age of 30 and growing. And innovation typically starts with startups, and Nigeria has the largest number of startups in the Africa tech ecosystem, over 750 startups. And there's been talks around the startup bill here in Nigeria, especially with developments around regulatory for startups. We saw what happened with the motorcycle hailing and then cryptocurrency. That's been transactions that were suspended and all of that. But of course, for innovation to thrive, it needs to be backed by policy. So what exactly is this startup bill or this startup act?
Okay, Anita, if you allow me to go this route, okay. Talking about policies that affect startups, we've seen startups spring up in Nigeria, and they've added to the economic value, and they've actually come up to create impacts, in the economy. However, when you talk about the startup bills, it's very important for the private sector, for the public sector, and for the investors to come to a round table to actually have some conversations, right?
Yeah.
Let me use the example of the cryptocurrency. I was against the cryptocurrency ban. We lent our voices, we did background consultations and all of that. But however, one of those things was the fact that, cryptocurrency, some people were using the cryptocurrency innovative or the cryptocurrency space, to do fraud and to, do money laundering. So I will agree to the fact that if there had been a policy, right, around that innovative act of the cryptocurrency space, if there had been a policy with the private sectors, with the owners of those space, like those people, the companies in those space, there's a policy. They have a policy that's being constituted to even help the space the more. Do you get what I'm saying in that sense? That it will actually help the policy the more. So talking about the startup bill, I know that there's background conversations with different state government at this point, with the federal government looking at what happened to Twitter and looking at what happened to ride hailing in Lagos State. I can use Lagos State as an example to you. I was in the know with the ride hailing issues that happen in Lagos State. And as a matter of fact, it's a win-win situation, because my advice to startups is, if you're coming to Nigeria, they should hire a government relations specialist. Somebody, not just a government relations specialist, somebody that have access to the right person in government to have conversations with. it's very, very important for organizations to have a government relations specialist. I think most organizations underplay that role. But you feel you're a CEO and you know the governor. Knowing the governor or knowing the commissioner or knowing the president does not categorically give you, the perfect conversation, because at some point it might not even be the governor that will fault your organization. So what I'm saying in essence is the Nigerian startup bills that I know is not up and running yet, but there's conversations regards that. And I feel that the private sector, the public sector investors needs to come to roundtable, the stakeholders in case needs to come to roundtable discussion, so that it doesn't really it doesn't really bring millions of dollars into the country, and at the end of 6 months, 1 year, it goes down the drain. Thank you.
Yes, fantastic. Thank you very much for that. Yes, so that need for conversations to actually happen and to get everybody to sit down at the round table and actually discuss this and make sure that it is sustainable. It's a sustainable bill, and it takes into account everybody's views and concerns and all of that. Thank you very much for that, Femi. So yeah, of course, the startup bill is still in its infancy stages. There's still lots of conversations around it, but of course we're hearing rumors that the first legislative draft will be most likely ready by this August, but of course it's still all talk for now. So just like you've said, so that it doesn't end up being just conversations or something that kicks off and falls off along the way, how do you feel, or what is your opinion on how this startup bill will really help Nigerian startups?
Okay, like I said in my last statement, I talked about government relations specialist, right? So after the startup bill being executed or being in place, there's still reason for continuous conversations, right? So that is why I said it's good for the startups to hire government relations specialists. For instance, you are in transportation, your business is in transportation. It's good to have a link between your organizations and the Ministry of Transportation. Let's say, for instance, you're in finance. It's good to have a link between your organizations and CBN, or CBN itself and some other regulatory agencies. So the most important thing is conversation wouldn't stop. The most important thing is after the bill, there will be new innovations from your side as an organization, as a startup. There will be new innovations that you need to go ahead. You need to inform the regulatory bodies. So the person between the organization is that professional, that is a government relations person that could make it seamless, rather than just bringing on board innovative ideas that at the end of the day might not suit what the government, or it might not be part of the goals of the government in place at that time to achieve. However, some school of thought will say all of these things affect the economy. But in the case of this, Nigeria is a peculiar state. It's a different state from probably, namely, some other countries. Mm-hmm. So far, the peculiarity of where you are from, then you need to go that route. And you need to make it seamless for yourself to drive results.
Great. Fantastic. So what I'm hearing is for this bill to actually, when it does come to light, for it to actually make the effect or to achieve its objectives. Of course, from the startup side, there needs to be that engagement and that linkage to the regulatory bodies and to the government in the form of, forgive me if I missed that before, you said it was government relations specialists? So let me just go back to this whole recent ban on tech innovations like crypto and, of course, Twitter. It's now been 2 months since the ban. We're hearing that conversations have been positive, so the ban may be lifted soon. But do you think Nigeria has a chance to bring up better policies in favor of innovative startups, aside or in addition to this startup bill that is already in the works?
So let me say this. Yes, I will say yes to your questions, and the reason being that we are in the fourth industrial revolution, before I have, And as a matter of fact, it's so important for countries, it's so important for nations to go the route of the 4IR, and that's why we've seen different startups coming up with different innovations at this time. It's because of the 4IR. And as a matter of fact, I know that the Nigerian government understand the fact that, okay, yeah, we need to upskill ourselves, we need to do research, we need to know more regards to the fourth industrial revolution. So I'll be disappointed if the conversations aren't upskilled. And as a matter of fact, I know that, like I said, with the conversations they're having with Rita, by now, they will have had some understanding, or policies, or they will have had some understanding too from as the Nigerian government and as Rita, as an organization, will have understanding that, okay, Nigeria is different from any other country. I think all of these routes, it balances all of the issues of bans, rights, left and center. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you so much, Mr. Femi. I think I'm gradually moving into probably my final question for you today. And so in celebration of the International World Youth Day, what would be like your key takeaways for aspiring or innovative youth that are willing to go into the startup industry in Nigeria? What would be like your key takeaway advice for these youth?
So a quick one, and which is, youths that really want to go in that route should be so intentional. Number one, there's a need to be so intentional, and then there's a need to network, the right networks actually. So I feel why most startups in Nigeria struggle after raising funds is because they don't have the right networks. They don't have the right networks to actually upskill. So to cut all the long story short is to be intentional, right? And to build networks. I think it's worked in Nigeria. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you so very much. So what I've gained, my key takeaways from this conversation today is pretty much that if you're going into innovation in Nigeria, you need to understand that Nigeria is a very, very peculiar environment. And of course, there's need for, being intentional. There's need for conversation with not just the private sector, but also with the public sector, with the different government agencies. Startups should start looking at actually including on their team like a government relations specialist rather. And of course, like you've said, it will be a win-win situation at the end of the day if all the sectors of the economy come together and agree that this is what the policy is. These are the challenges within the different sectors, and this is the policy that is in place to make sure that this sector is moving forward and, things are not just springing up, going well, and then a couple months or years down the line, policy is striking them out at one point or the other. So thank you so very much, Mr. Femi. Thank you so much. Once again, listeners, I've had here with me today Mr. Femi Ojo, Public Policy and Partnerships Management Professional. And I'm sure you've taken a lot of notes and key takeaways from the conversation today. And of course, thank you so much, Mr. Femi, for having you here. I'm sure this will not be like our last rodeo with you. We thank you so much for joining us, and I hope that when we do reach out to you for further conversation that you will oblige us. Thank you.
So thank you so much, Anita and your team. Thank you. Thank you for making this seamless for me. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So thank you to everyone listening in. Again, my name is Anita Agbakoba, commercial support here at Impact Hub Lagos. And until next time, stay inspired, keep connecting, and keep making impact.